Welcome to the GFT podcast, Your Immutable Future, where we're going to be speaking all about one creation today. And we have our two guests on the show, Zohar, the CEO of One Creation, and Guillem Fortuny, Delivery Director for International Business at GFT Spain. Welcome to the show, gents. So great to have you on here. And maybe we can just kick off with the how did this come to play? So how did you get the idea of building out One Creation, Zohar? It's obviously quite an ambitious project, and it'd be interesting to know a little bit about how you came up with the idea in the first place, and what was the spark that created it?
Sure. Thank you very much, and good to see you today, David. Basically, the idea came from two types of issues. One was a personal one, and the other one was a business issue that was constantly bothering me. So when in my past, I used to sell a lot of data. We're talking about billions of dollars worth of data. And one of the things that was really constantly in my mind was around data leakage or the misuse of the data that we were selling. And always, was sending auditors to my clients to make sure that they are adhering to the ways that that data is being consumed. And that was never a great relationship or a builder by sending your client an auditor. So I always wanted to think if there was a technology that could actually create almost like a GPS on your data. That was one of the business ideas that came a few years before I actually joined Digital Asset. And when I joined Digital Asset Holdings, I was really open to this whole notion of decentralized finance, decentralized distributed systems, and really fell in love with smart contracts and their ability to control privacy, or what we call sub-transaction privacy, between different nodes on the ledger. So, connecting that knowledge together with the idea that I wanted to create a GPS on my data was the main catalyst. And additionally, from a personal perspective, my son is a type 1 diabetic. And after, he was diagnosed, we really got a lot of advertisement and a lot of information about my son that I didn't really feel that I ever gave anyone the permission to use. So then I wanted to connect, the notion of providing a GPS on your data with the ability to actually control the data once it's leaving my premise or my embassy. And that's really how the idea around One Creation came about.
So thank you for that, Zohar. It's really, really interesting to see how it came to be, and definitely in terms of user data rights, I can see how that is a really important part of our daily lives now, and is something that we should all be very aware of. I think more and more people are actually becoming more aware of it. So maybe from delivery and development point of the project, this project uses a lot of different cutting edge technologies, so like DAML, cloud, obviously data management, and fast data. How has that helped the team design a product that's more efficient and secure, do you think, Guillem?
So yes, as you said, the platform is based on a modern architecture, starting with a UI which is built in AngularJS. Then secondly, the application workflow, which is implemented under a Java microservice architectures. As you pointed out, we use smart contracts implemented in DAML to orchestrate data publication, to manage consumption, apply pricing rules, for instance, and generally speaking, to enforce digital rights, which is the aim of the platform, as Zohar said. By using DAML, we can ensure high levels of privacy and abstraction. Yeah. As persistence layer, we are using AWS RDS PostgreSQL. And everything is ready, and this is thanks to the flexibility on DAML, to be hosted within a distributed solution if were required. Okay. From an infrastructure point of view, and on some of the core services, we are using AWS. To mention a few, we use CloudFront to distribute the front end. We use S3 as data file storage, and also to store the code itself. We have also EKS, which is the Kubernetes cluster, to orchestrate all the microservices. For monitoring purposes, we are using both CloudWatch and Datalog, and Code Pipeline to run the CI/CD service. And last but not least, we have recently onboarded Redis, which is a native AWS cache, to make the platform much more efficient. So thanks to all this, as you said, we have been able to deliver a scalable platform which is very efficient and secure.
So it sounds like you're really got the full-on cutting-edge tech stack. It's very exciting to work with something
Indeed.
as
Indeed.
innovative as that. It's great. It's great. So maybe another one for Zohar. Like One Creation, I think we both come from a financial services background, and One Creation, when I thought about it, at first, I suppose I was always thinking about financial services data and how it can be processed and shared and monetized. But it's actually a pretty open platform. I mean, you spoke about healthcare previously. I don't know if there's any other interesting use cases that you've run through, and what are the benefits for using One Creation in different areas?
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to add to Guillem's statement as well, that except from this cutting edge technology, the combination of smart contracts and very sophisticated privacy enhancing encryption technologies is what gives us the ability to create a GPS that has almost like an embassy envelope running around it. So if you think that your data, whether you're an enterprise or an individual, might have the rules that you have set for the usage of that data enforced anywhere the data goes in the ether, in the cyberspace, the digital economy, then this is a really big use case. And that means that it could be used anywhere from individuals to enterprises, from media content to regular content. So I would say that the platform itself has three main use cases: protecting content and data leaving an organization, what we call the external use case; the internal use case around the enforcement of data usage policies, meaning not just saying that this is what the rule is, but actually technically enforcing internal data usage policies, and by that getting a lot of security and data lineage and other benefits from the platform. And then the third one is what we call visibility. From if you were an organization anywhere in the world right now and you want to comply to regulations, and even if you didn't want to comply to regulations, you just wanted to do the right thing, we think that you should be able to show your users how you're using their data. And that is applicable in so many different regulations, so many different industries, whether it's the retail industry, loyalty programs, healthcare, music rights, legal tech, and of course, financial services regulations. So what we're giving is control and visibility to the user and to the enterprise to show where the user's data is being used. And we think that that's really the first step in providing trust. And one of the biggest issues that we see currently in the industry is lack of trust in corporations, lack of trust in governments. And frankly, you can't blame us for that lack of trust. However, we think that our platform goes way beyond financial services, and the establishment of trust is a differentiating factor. And we see a lot more enterprises from different facets of the world, with different types of organizations, including government, that are interested in providing this trust and self-sovereignty of data to their clients. And therefore, our target addressable market is literally everyone. Every corporation, every bank, every industry, every hospital should offer its clients the ability to see where their data is being used. And that's why we're so excited about what we built.
Thank you, Zohar. I mean, that's really quite something, isn't it, to be on the cutting edge of something which is potentially applies to so many different areas, and is really needed to be able to have that visibility of what people are doing with their data, and enforces it, as you said before, using cryptographic techniques and technology and rules that are based in, for example, in DAML or smart contracts in more general. Maybe moving on to smart contracts and DAML, obviously that's what defines the workflows in One Creation, and that seems to be one of the leading, let's say, workflow automation languages for the enterprise arena. And GFT have done a lot in this area and been delivering projects for the last 4 or 5 years now. What do you think is the real differentiator for DAML, Guillem, and why people are using that instead of other smart contract languages in their projects?
So yes, as I said before, we use DAML to orchestrate data publication, manage some of the key functions around data like the consumption, pricing rules, and broadly speaking, to enforce the digital rights. But which is the reason we use DAML for this purpose? So firstly, because it provides high levels of privacy and abstraction, which are key aspects when it comes to managing data rights. Yeah. Secondly, due to the usability. Using DAML facilitates modeling complex data schemas for your applications and enables to track who has access to the different parts of the data, I would say in a pragmatic and easy manner. Thirdly, DAML is much easier to use in compared with competitors like Solidity and Plasters, makes easy reading and understanding for both technical and non-technical people. So it's a vehicle that puts in common language between business people and IT, which is one of the key success factors for this sort of challenges. And last but not least, DAML is highly flexible. And I think a good example, as I said before, is the way we implemented our one persistence layer. So right now we use a single instance based on AWS RDS Postgre solution, but it's pretty simple, I would say, with doing minor changes to be moving to a distributed approach, like using a DLT solution like Corda. Yeah, so these are for me the main reasons why DAML is the right choice for this sort of challenges. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Guillem. I think definitely the how efficient it is to be able to write out code. I mean, I think there's quite a lot of statistics around that about the amount of code that you write compared to in DAML compared to something like Solidity, for example, and how efficiently you can do that and the amount of time that you can save. But for me, I think in my experience, and I've been on both sides of this, as a developer, being able to show what you have written to your your business side colleagues, and as being on the business side and looking at developers code, that ability to be able to talk the same language is like super powerful, and I think that's been really, really great, and it means that you can just prototype really easily as well. So I think for me on that side, I think like the prototyping ability in DAML is fantastic, and it's always been a pleasure to use it as well in the projects that we've used it in.
Actually, David, do you mind if I add one more?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So,
go ahead.
As somebody that worked for Digital Asset before and was part of the team that open sourced it. So number one is it's open sourced. So it's available. There's a community around it. And as you said, the abstraction here and the ease of development is really great. The second thing is that DAML works on multiple persistence layers. And therefore, we even have a client where we're going to install the system as half on a centralized database and half on a decentralized database. Could be Corda, could be VM, the VM blockchain. But the interesting thing is that not a lot of solutions provide the migration between a centralized world to the decentralized world. And I think that the reasons and what we've chosen here from an architecture perspective provides the ability to have an application that's decentralized by nature, but acts on both centralized and decentralized persistence layers, which is very powerful in terms of the migration and adoption of blockchain types of solutions, to the industry. You don't have to fall off a cliff and adopt a brand new technology in order to get the benefits of the decentralized application that we've built.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and I think all of the work that they're doing now on Canton as well is really interesting in that respect as well, because you can have these two things living beside each other in the same network. So decentralized networks and like Hyperledger Fabric or Hyperledger Besu living beside each other, and then in the same network also have a kind of centralized solution in another domain, which is for example like Postgres. So exactly. I think it's really fascinating stuff that they're doing in digital assets, and really breathes a whole new life into the DLT space, where it seemed to be very much about, you choose one type of technology and do one thing, you have to make another type of technology choice and do another thing. This kind of opens up the doors to a lot of possibilities.
Absolutely. De-risking the ledger choice was a massive reason why we chose to work with Daniel.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So maybe one for everyone then, to probably the last question today, but an interesting one. So maybe like looking in the crystal ball, so maybe 10 years time from now, where do you think data rights management will be in 10 years time? Where do you think this is? In which direction do you think this is all going, I suppose? And maybe I'll add my comment on the end of this. It's a long time.
No, 10 years is a long time, but I would say that I call the next decade the decade of trust. I believe that, the last frontier as it comes to the migration of our lives into a fully digital economy, and of course the pandemic helped a lot with the catalyst to move us into a more and more digital economy. Data consumption is changing. Patterns in data consumption is changing. And the one thing, the last frontier that we didn't really approach yet or disrupt yet, is our own privacy. And because of that, even as early as yesterday, the hack into T-Mobile, and 40 million, clients lost all of their data, including Social Security, driver's license, and so forth. Trust in corporations and governments, and trust in this digital economy, especially for the younger folk that are constantly active electronically, active on making their purchases online, doing everything online, is really deteriorating. And the only way that we can bring back that trust is to slowly build it by providing technological tools that will give us first transparency, which is a way to establish trust, and then other mechanisms to continue and give us more control over our rights and our privacy rights. And I think that this is the next decade where we're going to see both governments. I mean, you've already seen the regulations in Europe, but you could see how it migrates and it becomes even more and more scrutinized as it moves towards Asia. We've seen in California, CCPA, we've seen 4 other states in the United States moving towards privacy rights. So if you ask me, in the 10 years, there will be more regulation that will move and demand more control over rights and platform rights, data rights, so forth. However, I don't necessarily think it's just the regulations that are going to be the catalyst to move this trust first type of trend. It will be the actual enterprises that will want to reestablish their trust and reestablish their loyalty with their customers and customer engagement, especially the ones that are very active with them, and do that through technology such as ours. So I do believe that the next decade is the decade of trust. I do believe that privacy, instead of a liability, can become an opportunity, and I think we're going to see that very soon.
Guillem, I don't know if you have.
Yes, no, I fully agree on the expert. But let's say, considering facts like the amount of data generated is daily is growing exponentially, considering that how powerful the data is, can be for many different businesses to take decisions, influence, or deduce behaviors. And the fact that the pressure of the regulations in terms of data privacy and use is increasing as well, all these are the ingredients that to make this sort of solutions, these sort of platforms, a real need. And let's say society will have some sort of a key dependency on these sort of solutions. I wouldn't say in 10 years, I would say now, okay?
Yeah, I mean, it is an immediate thing. I think that my personal view is that I think what will happen is that in the next few years, we will see the backlash about people not really worrying about their private data. And the reason that we're going to see that is that, for example, some of the schemes that they have in certain countries around how to give, for example, like point systems based on your use of your data and the use of the things that you're doing with your data and what you're buying and who you're seeing and where you're going and what you're doing will give indications to banks or to governments or whatever about the things that you can do with your life. So, for example, do I want to go and get a mortgage? Can I get a mortgage? Well, maybe you can't get a mortgage because you flew too many times to this place or to that place, or maybe you have been walking down the wrong type of street, so maybe your life insurance is going to be affected, for example. So I think people at this point in time, we're not so worried about how we deal with data, because we haven't had the real effect of like, oh, I actually go to a bank and I want to get something, maybe some line of credit. I can't do that. I think more and more what we'll see is that the banks and governments and any kind of business will make decisions based on those based on data. And on the other hand, as you said, Guillem, we're going to see more and more data. If we look at maybe China as a crystal ball into how technology is going to be going, and smart cities are going to be the future. Everything's going to be connected. We're going to have potentially we're going to have ideas which are going to be connected into how we open up our car, how we pay for petrol, how we pay for parking, how we get into our lift. Everything will potentially be connected, so we'll have more and more information, and there'll be more and more data to be able to be used. And I think it'll be interesting to see how the regulators deal with that one, and how involved private companies will be in that and the different jurisdictions. So
David, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think that I actually have in front of me a very detailed research report that was done by one of the large credit card providers. I can't mention whom because I'm under certain confidentiality agreements, but I can definitely say that it's a perception that people don't care about their data. Actually, it's the older people that don't care about their data. It's the me. People over 40 are the ones that care less about their data. However, people under 40 that actually are called active, meaning they do their shopping, 50% of their shopping online. They go to at least 7 applications during the day. They visit at least 10 websites during the day. Those are people that really care about their data. And what they want is not just, they want some sort of a benefit, meaning the whole notion that we're giving our data in return for some access to a service, and that's the benefit. Some benefits are higher in consideration for people that care about their data, and some benefits are lower. For example, how my data will be used is more important to those users than whether my data is used or not, right? If the data is going to be sold or shared with third parties is something that they care about, and whether the ability to change the permissions easily around the data is also a big factor. So we do see trends around data democratization, as we call it, and we do think that enterprises in return for that transparency will have to give you better benefits in return for the service. It's either monetization of data or better benefits for the fact that you're sharing sensitive data with them. But it's definitely something that a lot of people do care about. It's just that it usually, from a statistical perspective, it usually goes to the more active users, which are usually in the younger ages.
Yeah, and that makes total sense as well when you think about some of large organizations, for example, like Apple, and the way that they've kind of led their whole campaign around data usage and privacy, and that's really the most important thing to their offering. So, and their focus is obviously on I would say like more active users, as you said before, and the younger generation. So statistics you mentioned are also interesting. So we'll see how it goes, and we'll see what the next generation has to come as well. And in the future where we're all more connected, data is going to be more important, and how we deal with data, and solutions like One Creation are going to be really important, I think, in that environment. So we're coming up towards the end of the podcast. I would just like to say thank you very much to Zohar and to Guillem for joining today. It's been a pleasure to speak with you both. Do check out the One Creation website. That's one-creation.com. And do keep on listening to the DLT and crypto podcasts here at GFT. And thanks to all of you listening in at home.